to practice their body language, or they think that they don't speak with the body language, here are 2 suggestions. The first suggestion is talk to somebody about something you love or something you hate. Right? Talk to somebody about something you love or something that you hate. And I guarantee you, when you start talking about that, your body starts to react. When you talk about, oh, the other day, this lady jumped in front of me and cut me off, and the queue jumped, right? You'll naturally start talking with your body. Or maybe you're talking about somebody in your family. Oh, my daughter, she's so cute. The other day, she did this, blah, 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 blah. All right? Your body naturally speaks. The second exercise you can actually do is actually show me with your hands how many people have kids? Show me with your hands. How many people have kids? Yep. All right. How many people have nieces or nephews? All right, we're getting closer. How many people have been kids before? All right, we got everyone. We got everyone. All right. Now, with this, what I'm trying to suggest is that if you find a child, somebody younger, tell them a story. Tell them a story, because when we tell stories to children, we naturally change our vocal variety and we naturally add more body language. Right? If we just stand there and say, once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs, and one pig built a house of straw, one pig built a house of sticks. If we told stories like that to a kid, they would run away and they would not listen to you. They wouldn't care, right? But naturally, when we speak to kids, we transform and we use our vocal variety and our body language. So that's another way to practice your body language to make it more natural. Okay. All right. Let's go to number 3, mistake number 3. Now, the mistake number 3 is where I would say that speakers telegraph their message. Speakers telegraph their message. What do I mean? What that means is, especially in Toastmasters or contest speech, they've structured and designed their speech in such a way that the audience can guess what the story is about, and they can guess the meaning of the story before the story has even concluded. All right? And they probably guess it after the first 2 minutes. And if the audience can guess what it's going to be about after 2 minutes, there is a big chance that they're not going to pay attention, or their minds will start drifting off because they think, oh, I know what this is about. Yeah, all right. And then they switch on in and out of that story. All right. So think about your favorite movies, or think about favorite TV shows. What are they constantly doing? They're constantly keeping you curious, keeping you in suspense, trying to make you follow the show and want to keep coming back. So TV shows like Breaking Bad are great examples. If anybody's watched Parasite, the movie, Parasite, the Korean movie, that's also another great example of you're sitting on the edge wondering what's happening next. You can't guess what's going to happen, right? And as speakers, when we're telling stories or when we're in a contest, that's probably what we want to do, is to keep the audience in a curious state of mind. Another place where you can learn this is just watching magicians. Right? When you watch a magician, they are masters of keeping you engaged and giving you twists and turns. Right? You know that they're going to make a card disappear. You know they're going to do something, but you're constantly trying to guess and you're trying to look and you can't guess what's going to happen next. So it's another good place to learn. So 2 places where people often telegraph their message. The first place is in their title. Right? Often in people's titles, they'll say, my biggest regret, or my dream, right? And you know straight away what they're going to be talking about. The other place is in the introduction, or even the first two minutes. The introduction might be, today I'm going to tell you about the biggest challenge I've ever had in my life, right? Or they say, oh, when I was little, I had this dream to become an astronaut. And my parents said no. And then I worked hard to try to become an astronaut. And it's obviously about either becoming an astronaut or following your dreams. All right, so it's really easy to guess. So you got to think of ways to hide it or misdirect people. Now, this is particular in for storytelling and I would say contest speaking. If we're talking about real life and we're talking about business presentations, then it's actually a little bit opposite. All right, with business presentations, this is where you need to go, all right, here is what we're going to talk about today. This is a rough structure, but this is the problem. And then you keep them in a curious state of mind about what the problem is, how you solve the problem, and what it means for your business and their business. And that's how it would work in a corporate sense, right? So that's mistake number 3. We telegraph the message too early. All right, let's go to number 4. Number 4. Number 4 is when somebody, I would say, preaches to us or beats us over the head with a message. Right? They beat us over the head with a message. Now, the audience is smart. The audience is smart. We don't need to beat them over the head with the message unless our message isn't clear, right? Unless our message isn't clear. So if our message isn't clear, that's often where we as speakers try to overcompensate. We try to overcompensate and we say, this is my message. And then you just keep talking about your message because you want to make sure that the audience understands it. If your message is really clear and succinct, then your audience will understand it and you actually don't need to say it that often. You don't have to say it that much, right? So something for you to keep in mind when you're speaking. Are you beating the audience over their head with your message, or are you doing it in a nice way that they hear it, they nod their head, they agree, and then you can sort of keep going and then summarize again with your message. So that's something to think about as well. Something that I would suggest that you do is try to get your message shorter than 10 words, right? Try to get your your message shorter than 10 words, or the post-it note theory, the post-it note. So post-it note's a little square note about this big, right? So your message should fit on a post-it note and you should be able to just give it to someone, they read the post-it note and understand the message. If you can write really small in small handwriting, that doesn't count, okay? It's got to be normal handwriting on a post-it note. Another way to make sure that you're not beating your audience over the head is just to ask your audience. Deliver it to different audiences and ask them at the end, 1, do you know what my message is? Right? Do you know what do you think my message was? Get their feedback. And if they repeat the message or rough ideas of what you're trying to communicate, then that's fine. Second thing you would ask them is, do you think I'm sort of beating you over the head with that message? Am I saying it too much? Right? Just ask your audience. When you get that feedback, then you go back and adjust and you make those changes. I always find that that helps me. Here's another thing that I've learned over the years is that a line in your speech can have multiple meanings. It can have multiple meanings, all right? So if to somebody that line means one thing and to another person it means another thing, but they're both crystal clear on what those meanings are, to me, I think that's fine. To me, I think that's fine, all right? Because otherwise, sometimes people interpret things differently. The problem is when you have a line and people are saying, I'm actually not sure what the message is. Or I think it's this, but I also think it's this. And I think it might also be this. That's when it's not clear. Right? But if people are clear on their own definition of the message or that definition of that line, I think that's actually okay. Right? but that's just my personal opinion. All right. Some people may not agree on that take, but that's just my personal opinion. All right. Now let's get to mistake number 5. Mistake number 5. And mistake number 5, it's something sort of quite close to my heart. And it's when people are too focused on winning. Right? People are too focused on winning. And I see a lot of speakers and their focus is just on winning, right? That's the only thing that's in their mind. And when the focus is just on winning, I think there's this disconnection with the audience and a disconnection with yourself. Right? I would say that you can see this especially when people lose in a contest. And when they lose in a contest, they're like, I can't believe I lost. The judges don't know what they're talking about. Or my speech was so much better than that person. If I wasn't speaker number 1, I would have won. That's the wrong focus. That's the wrong focus. Where should the focus be? As a speaker, where should the focus be? And you're happy to type in the chat box. I would love to hear what people are thinking. Yeah, your audience, the audience, correct. Get the message through. At the end of the day, the most important thing is your audience. And if you focus on your audience, if you focus and say, I don't care if I don't win, but as long as I can help the audience and make their lives better, then I've achieved my goal. I've achieved my goal. And to me, that's really important as a speaker because I've competed in the international speech contest for so many years. If it was just about winning, I probably would have quitted a while back because it's so draining and it takes a lot of time and energy. But when your focus is about the audience, is about bringing meaning to the audience, then the way you craft your message is so different. It's so different. When you craft with a winning, I need to win, if you craft with that mindset, then what you will do is you'll tick the boxes. Does it have this type of opening? Does it have a core phrase? Does it have humor every 1 minute? Does it have some form of action that people can call back on? And it's like almost like a tick box. But when you craft because you want to make people's lives better and you want to talk about something that's really important to you, you start thinking about all the different ways you can craft your story or your speech to achieve that goal and to help your audience. Right? And it's really obvious if you watch a TED Talk, a lot of TED Talks are really persuasive, influential. They're really able to help change people's minds because they really want to help people or they really want to spread their idea to other people, right? And we look at those speeches and we think, oh, they're amazing. Right? So the contest is great. I think the contest is great. You should all participate in the contest. And the contest is the best way for you to hone your skills and to polish your skills to get better, because great speaking is all about refining your speech. It's about refining your speech. It's not just one speech, it's refining that speech over and over and over again to get that really amazing speech. But when you get to a certain level, don't get too obsessed with winning, right? Don't get too obsessed with winning. How does that relate to the corporate world or speaking at work? Same thing. Think about your audience. What's the most important thing for them? Right? It's not about what's important for you as the speaker, it's what's important to them as an audience. How can you craft your message so that you make their lives better? And then the way you think about your presentation will be really different. And a lot of those nerves that you might have will also disappear. Right. So those are what I would say are my main 5 mistakes that I've made and I've seen people make in the past. I'm not going to give you any more. There are definitely a lot more, but it's good to just concentrate on 5 so that you can remember and focus on them. What I would like to do now, before I give you the bonus, what I'd like you to do is ask you all to just help me out by filling out a quick survey.
You can't help these bloody laws.
Now what I have to do is I've got to find the link, don't I? All right, here we go. It will take no longer than 2 minutes. It's really short, and I'm just putting it in the chat box now. Oops, I'm not able to give it to everyone. Can the host help me here? Allow everyone, there we go. All right, so if everyone could just spend 2 minutes for me just to quickly fill out this survey, it will help me out in developing content and to work out what's really important to people and how it can help improve their lives as well. So if you can just take a quick minute to fill that out. I'll give you 2 minutes before I give you the bonus. Now I can see if anybody's responded, so I do hope to get a few responses before I move on. You can't, oh. Can people open the link? Yep, some people are able to open the link. Okay, might have to just, if you can't open the link, you might have to copy and paste the link into a web browser. Yeah, you might have to just copy it from the chat box and paste it into a web browser. Just give it 1 more minute. So there are about 8 questions, I think. So you just enter it, you fill it in, you enter. Shouldn't take too long. I'll give everybody 1 more minute. Excellent, Lester's done one. Thanks. All right, whilst you're all filling it out, what I'll do is I will start taking a few questions. Let's start taking a few questions. So whilst other people are filling it out, if you do have a question, please feel free to type in the chat box. I'm happy to see Carol and Kingy, some people that I haven't seen in a long time. All right. Now, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask?
All right, thank you, Toastmaster Kwong, for opening the floor for questions. You can raise your virtual hand as you always do, those of you joining us from sessions before. Type your question or direct it directly to Toastmaster Kwong. To do so, you have to raise your hand virtually so I can see you. And yes, we would like to acknowledge Toastmaster Kingi Biddle and Toastmaster Carol joining us. Welcome. All right, on that note, Toastmaster Kwong, I would like to now introduce our, we have a reactor today who will react to your session and who will kickstart the question answer round actually. And to do so, I would like to invite Toastmaster Liang, our division director from a different district. Toastmaster Liang, if you're there, please unmute yourself, sir.
Yes, I've done it. Can you hear me?
Madam.
All right, so I'm Mr. Right. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much to organize this event for me to be able to attend such a great webinar from all the way in London. So I'm Liang T. Lee, Division K Director from District 91, UK South. When I first saw this event, I thought, wow, there's someone doing something as a Division K Director. All right, let me check what he's doing. And I have never regretted that I registered this event. I'd like to ask you a question. So because you mentioned about like we shouldn't compete because we want to win. So what's the reason you compete for your first time? And then why did you compete, or why have you still competing frequently? Can you answer us that question? And thank you very much. I will pass the stage to the champion or our organizer, Rocky. Thank you very much.
All right, lovely. Thank you for that question. I guess I would jump straight into that answer, or Rafiq, did you want to say something?
Go ahead, Toastmaster Kwong.
Okay, so why did I compete the very first time? I'm going to try to keep all of this concise. All of the stuff that I talk about could probably turn into workshops by themselves. At the time, I was living in China and I was competing in China. I was winning table topics. I was winning humorous. I was winning evaluation contests. And this was back in 2008, maybe 2007, 2008. And then when I came back to Australia, I was telling people how great I was because I was winning these contests. And I had a friend who said, Kwong, you're cheating. I'm like, what do you mean I'm cheating? He goes, well, you're in China. Everybody speaks Chinese. English is their second language. And for you, English is your first language. So you have an unfair advantage. And when I heard that, I went, oh, you're right. And so the reason why I competed up to the international level for the first 2 years was because I wanted to see whether I could communicate to an international audience and get to that level. For me, it was really a bit about identity and confidence. So growing up in Australia as a Chinese boy, I was always more quiet and I always felt like I didn't have the confidence to speak up in meetings or around people because of my ethnicity. And so I wanted to prove to myself that I could actually speak in front of an international audience or a North American audience and still feel comfortable. So that was my first challenge. Ever since that day, every single year, I usually have some other goal that I'm trying to achieve. So it's not yes, getting to the finals would be great, but there's always some other goal for me, which drives me to compete every year. A different goal every year. Hope that answers your question.
Excellent. Thank you, Toastmaster Kwong, and thank you, Toastmaster Liang T. Lee, joining us from District 91, South UK. Madam Toastmaster Liang Ti. And thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. All right, we've got a lot of questions coming in, Toastmaster Kwong. We've got one question. I've been asked to keep it anonymous from whom it's coming. Question goes like this. Is winning a contest or a championship important to a club, since you said that the focus should be on the audience?
The rules.
Is winning a contest important to a club? I would need to get more background on that to be honest. My answer is it important? No. No, it's not important. As a club, you want to be sustainable for a long period. As a club, you want to be able to develop every single one of your members over a long period. So you need to make sure that you have the right systems, the right structure, the right sort of team bonding for your club. And that's really important. Does winning a championship help with the team bonding? Yes, it does. Does a championship help with bringing extra knowledge of what a good speech is? Yes, it does. But is it the only thing that you need to have a successful club? No, it's not. Right? There are many ways to have a successful club. It could be through the speaking, it could be through leadership, it could be just building a great community within your club. And what you want that to do is to last a long period, not just for that one. You don't want to be a one-hit wonder. Yeah, you want something that's sustainable. That's my opinion, humble opinion.
Thank you to our anonymous question. And thank you to Toastmaster Kwong. We've got another anonymous question. Again, I've been asked to keep the identity anonymous. Toastmaster Kwong, how do you cope up with the stress of competing from club level all the way to the championship and not wanting to lose at the beginning levels because you have the pressure to be a champion?
I think it comes back to what I was saying before. You can't make it about winning. You can't make it about winning. You've got to have something else there to drive you. So for example, for me, there's one year where my dad passed away and I really wanted to dedicate a speech to him. And that's what drove me. And if I didn't win, it doesn't matter, because for me, it was a part of a healing process for me to talk about my relationship with my dad. Right? So it shouldn't be about winning. Do I get stressed? Yes. Do I have a lot of expectations on my shoulders? Yes. All right. Every year I get to the international convention, it's like, oh, it's you again, Kwong. Are you going to win it this year? And I'm like, I want to, but I don't know if I can, right? And sometimes it's out of your control. Now, I think Lance Miller, 2005 world champion, once said to me, Kwong, if you want to win, your speech has to be so good that there's no doubt who the winner is. Right? It's got to be so good that there's no doubt who the winner is. So you need to make sure your speech is that good. Now, to get to that level isn't easy, right? So right now, everything that we do, whether it's club, area, division, districts, it's all a learning process. So you just need to say, all right, if I don't win, what have I learned? How can I be better for the year after? Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. We got another question. Toastmaster Allison is joining us, but she's unable to ask the question directly due to connection problems. Her question is, what are your tips for storytelling speeches?
What are my tips for storytelling speeches? So how to tell stories, I guess would be, is that another way to reframe that? How would you tell stories?
Basically, how to make that story stands out and deliver a message.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying, because that's totally different from what I read. How do you make your speech stand out and to make sure you clarify it? I think
Does it need a
going
climax?
if you're going all the way to the international, then you do want something that stands out. And when you want something to stand out, it's got to be something that you can connect with and something that would be interesting for the audience that they may not know about. So for example, when I talk about fortune cookie, then it's something that an international audience will go, oh, that's sort of interesting, right? And they'll want to hear about it, listen to it. And I've had stories in my life which are really interesting as well. But I would say that everybody has interesting stories in their lives. Everybody has interesting stories in their lives. We're all interesting people. We all go through different experiences. It's just whether or not we want to talk about them or share them. Right. So there are many different ways to find those stories. Unfortunately, I can't share them with you now because again, that's a half-a-day workshop just on storytelling. But I would say that everybody has interesting stories. But the second thing is challenge yourself to find a story which is very simple. So if you think about if you saw my semi-final speech in 2019, it's really just a story about me and my mum and how she was nagging me and I wasn't listening to her. Right? It's not exciting. It's not me flying to the moon. It's just a relationship of me and my mum. If you think about Less and More, my 2019 final speech, it's just about me going to China on a plane and sitting next to a lady. Again, if I put it like that, it's not that interesting. It's just the way you package it and use different writing skills to make it more engaging.
Thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. We have one more question coming from Toastmaster George Markan. Toastmaster George, if you can hear us, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question directly.
Hi, Kwong. Good day. My question is, given our situation right now, we're in quarantine. So what are your tips in doing digital speeches such as Zoom meetings, webinars, and online courses? I understand that you have a course for this potentially, and I'm just wondering if you have any broad strokes that you can share to us.
For presenting online, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, I can share with you two very simple tips. First tip is look into the camera. Look straight into the camera.
Okay.
Don't look down.
Okay.
If right now I'm looking at myself. All
Okay.
right. So I'm speaking to you as if I'm looking at myself on screen. Right now, I'm looking into my camera and I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking to the camera. And now I am reading my notes and speaking to you as I read notes. All right. So can you feel the difference? Can you feel the difference from when I look straight in the camera and when I look to some other direction, right? I mean, obviously you're not going to stare at the camera the whole time, but that's where you want to focus your attention on. The second thing is remember that body language is just as important, if not more, on these virtual calls, right? If my hands are sort of hidden and just to my side the whole time, and I talk like this and I present it like this, it just wouldn't be as engaging as if I brought my hands into it and I said, hey, you know, these are 5 problems that I have, or this is how we can take our speech from this level up to the next level. Right? Very simple gestures. And if you get used to doing it virtually, when you come to delivering back on a stage or in a club, it's just going to become much easier.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Toastmaster George and Toastmaster Kwong. We have another question coming from Toastmaster Hazel Pasquale. If you can hear us, ma'am, you can unmute yourself and direct your question.
Hello, Kwong. I'd like to know, how do you develop speech content for that content that can reach international level?
Sorry, can you say that again?
How can you develop speech content that can reach international level, or how can you come up with a speech that you feel can reach the internationals?
All right. So if you want to develop a speech to go all the way to the international level, you need to understand a North American audience. You have to understand a North American audience, because even though Toastmasters is international, by the time you get to the international convention, even though you have people from all around the world, I would still say that 60 to 70% of people are from North America. So that's not America and Canada, right? So they're going to be your main audience. They're not going to be the judges, but they're going to be your main audiences. They're going to be the ones laughing or connecting. By understanding that audience, you will know what jokes you can use. You will know what terms and words you have to use. Right? For example, in 2000 and last year, I talked about instant noodles, but I had to double check with people in North America. Do you know what instant noodles are? And my friend said, oh, we actually call it instant ramen, but we would understand instant noodles. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I can keep that. Right. If he told me that he didn't understand instant noodles, I may have had to have written a whole brand new speech. Right. So you have to understand that North American audience. Then you would probably want to bring in some form of knowledge or thoughts that people don't know about, so they naturally want to listen more. So again, back to fortune cookie, I'm talking about a fortune cookie. I'm linking it to my Asian heritage. I'm talking about moving to China, working in a factory. People would be curious about that topic. If somebody came up to me and started telling me about how they flew to the moon and was an astronaut, I would be really engaged with that idea, right? So think about what are the stories that people would naturally find engaging. Yeah. That would be the easiest start. That would be the easiest start. But as you get, if you compete for a long time, you start using up all your great unheard of stories, and you have to start refining and trying to get stories out of everyday life, which is what I'm doing now.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster Hazel, and thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. We have a question coming from Toastmaster Lester Roxas. Go ahead, sir. You can ask your question.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rafi. Good day, Toastmaster Kwong. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, good. My question is, would you advise the use of ad-libs in an international speech, in an international convention?
Sorry, could you repeat that question? Was that ad-lib?
Ad-libs, using lines in your speech that were originally not part of it. For example, you saw something happening in the audience and you instantly put it as a part of your speech.
Oh, yeah, I love ad-libbing. I love ad-libbing because if you can ad-lib, it just shows that you are in the moment. And if you can say something and base it off something that's just happened, the audience will reward you because they'll just think, wow, the speaker is so smart, and they can talk about something else and they can link it back to their speech. That's really cool. So if you can ad-lib, it's great. I wouldn't do it every single time. You also need to make sure that it doesn't pull you off your story too much. Like some people ad-lib and then they forget their own words, or they ad-lib and they go off on a tangent and they don't know how to come back. So that's the risk if you ad-lib. But if you can ad-lib in advance, that's pretty good. And what I mean by ad-lib in advance, for example, if I'm at the international convention, there might have been a joke that somebody said the day before that everybody laughed, right? or there might be a theme going on at the convention that's going on and everyone's talking about it, then maybe I would consider how I could squeeze that into my speech. But again, you're taking a risk. So you really need to know your speech before you can take that risk.
So it needs expertise, something like that.
You just really need to know your story. You need to know your speech inside out. If you know your story inside out, then it's not that hard to ad lib. But if you're still trying to memorize, or you memorize it and you don't know it inside out, that's where the problem comes.
Excellent. Thank you, Toastmaster Lester, and thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. We have Julius Cruz, Toastmaster Julius Cruz. You can direct your question to Toastmaster Kwong.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Kwong, for the very helpful tips that you have shared with us. My question is, what is your criteria to be able to say that you were able to connect with the audience and make their life better through your speech?
My criteria is probably really simple. One, I get the response from the audience that I want, whether it's humor, laughing, or nodding their heads, where I want them to nod their heads. If I can get that, I've achieved it. Second thing is when I get off stage and people come up to me afterwards and say, Kwong, I really loved your speech, right? Or this has really changed the way I look at things. And that's probably the most meaningful thing. And especially when you hear it a few months later, when somebody says, oh, Kwong, that speech that you delivered, it really changed the way I looked at life. Or Kwong, whenever I'm really upset or unhappy, I look at that speech and I use that as inspiration. If I can get that to that level, that's amazing. I don't need to get a trophy to feel happy about that. And I think that's probably the most meaningful thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Julius and Toastmaster Kwong. All right, we have a question coming from Toastmaster, if I am pronouncing your name correctly, Roj. You have internet issues, so you want me to ask it for you. No problem. Here's the question to you, Toastmaster Kwong. Is it necessary to change speeches in every contest level, or is it okay to use the same piece and improve on it at every level?
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. You can do it either way. If you take one speech and you love that speech and you do it and you polish it and you make it better every single time, that's probably the best way to do it. Right? That's probably the best way to do it. However, if you do a speech, you polish it up and you don't feel comfortable with it, and your club members don't feel comfortable with it, and you think, all right, maybe I'll just try something different, and there's something else you really want to talk about, then try it. And if you try it and it does really well, then you can use the second speech. If you try it and you don't like it, you can go back to your original speech. What I wouldn't suggest is to change it every single time for every single contest, because then that's really tiring for you and for your club members.
Thank you for that question, and thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. We have another similar question, so I believe that is answered as well in this. We have Toastmaster Raj Bharat. Toastmaster Raj Bharat, if you can hear us, please go ahead and direct your question to Toastmaster Kwong.
So thank you so much, Rafiq, and good evening, Kwong. Good evening. I would like to ask a question is that for the crafting of the speech, I have been in Toastmasters since 2 years, more than 2 years, and I have crafted many speeches, but I feel challenges where, what should be the characteristics of the winning speeches? What should be the alignment? What should be the message? What should be the overall recipes for the speeches so that it could win probably the club area, even at higher levels? Yes, I want to understand about the winning speeches characteristics.
The good news is there is an answer.
Yeah.
The bad news is I can't answer it in 1 minute, 2 minutes, or even 5 minutes. I'm sorry. That's something that it's so complicated. There's so much information there, and there is a checklist, I would say, of things that you may want to do if you really, really want to just focus on the contest. But it comes back really back down to the basics. 1, your message has to be clear. 2, you need to be able to surprise your audience. And 3, you need to be able to entertain your audience. And those are probably the 3 things. Yeah, you have to be clear, you have to surprise, and you have to entertain. If you keep those 3 things as your guiding light, it's probably good enough to give you some form of direction.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kwong. Thank you so much for helping me out. I will try my best for the further crafting speeches. Thank you so
Welcome.
much.
Or you can, I'll leave it for later on. For those of you who are still on, I'll mention it now. Every Wednesday night, I am starting to do a type of sharing every Wednesday night. So if people are interested in that, I tried to start a Facebook page today. I've never done it in my life. So if you're interested, you can try to join my Facebook page, and I will post the Zoom room meeting link that I use for every Wednesday night. It's not always Toastmasters related, but it's usually communications related. Right? It's communications related, and it's just a place where you can get a little bit more information. Or if you really want to learn really quickly, really fast, then there are workshops that I will conduct in future as well.
Sure,
Thank you, Toastmaster Raj Bharat, and thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. We have one raised hand for a question, Toastmaster Panos Corel, who's always asking questions. I was getting scared that maybe you don't have a question, Toastmaster Panos, and there you are. Go ahead.
Thank you for this introduction and for successfully labeling me as the most curious individual in the room. And thank you so much, Kwong, for everything you offered us today, straight from the heart. I would like to point out that I have been following this series, and I'm eternally grateful to all the organizing team. And I've learned as much from every champion as I have from the differences in your way of presenting your workshops. So I've learned from every champion as an individual, but I've been learning from the differences between your styles. And it's now to me clearer than ever that speaking is a deeply personal affair. It's clear now. And the audience wants to get to know the speaker as much as they want to hear the message, an entertaining, engaging message. So my observation following your career now, Kwong, and getting to know you a bit better, is that you have achieved something. You're a champion of your own when it comes to consistency. So you're the only Toastmaster I know, and forgive me if there's more, that has made it to the top 3 times, again and again. So my slightly personal question, and forgive me if it is too personal, is what can I learn? What can we learn from this, from you tonight? So how would you package this experience that you have uniquely, perhaps in the entire Toastmasters community, having made it to the top 3 times? What can we learn from that? How can you travel this to us so that we learn from you about how to be setting our personal goals, about how this has benefited you, and about the resilience that it takes to make it to the top 3 times over, and to be able to come and connect through this experience with all of us. I hope this is not a too personal of a question, but then again, this is a unique opportunity to be in the same room with someone that loves what he does so much that it shows globally. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. If I had to summarize the learning, I would say that you learn a lot about yourself through the contest. You learn a lot about yourself through the contest. So I really learned more and more about who I am, the way I think, and what are the things that matter to me most. And for me, the speaking journey has been about self-discovery. Every year I compete, I learn something new. And every year I compete, I have a goal that I am trying to achieve, which isn't winning. All right, like I said, it's a non-winning goal, like a goal that's aside from winning. And I think if you have those two things in your mind, you're always going to enjoy it. You're always going to enjoy the contest, because when you're learning, you're growing, right? When you're failing, you're learning. And you know, there's nothing wrong with learning and knowing more about yourself. And that's probably why I would keep going. Having said that, it is very tiring. And I would also say to people now, ask yourself why you want to win and what's the drive. All right? Why do you want to win? What's the drive? Because even if you get that title, what does that mean to you? If you get that title, does that mean you can then become, oh, I'm now a professional trainer and I've always wanted to be a professional trainer? Or is it just about a title? Because whether you come first, whether you come second, whether you come third, that title lasts for 1 year. It has an expiry date of 1 year. And even if you win it, it doesn't necessarily mean you become a professional speaker. If you don't win it, you can still become a professional speaker. Rory Vaden is probably the classic example. But you need to know why, because you invest so much time. It's a year after a year after a year. I've invested like 10 years of my life in this contest. And there are times now where I go, maybe I should have concentrated on another part of my life, like getting married and having kids, right? If I gotten married and had kids, then I'll have more stories to talk about, and I'll be in a different stage of my life. And sometimes I think maybe I've invested too much time. And that's very honest from me. I've invested 10 years of my life. If people want to go down that track, they can, but you need to know why you're doing it, because you don't want to look at it 5 years later or 10 years later and go, why did I invest all that time? Yeah. Hope that helps. Well, I don't know if it helps, but that's just me and my internal thoughts from deep down inside.
Thank you, Toastmaster Kwong, and thank you, Toastmaster Panos. I hope you have enough content written down to compete for the World Championship now. All right, we have last 6 minutes left. I'm going to address two more questions. We have Toastmaster Craig Manabal raising his hand. Please, sir, direct your question.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Toastmaster Kwong. My question is a little technical, if you don't mind. So I've been competing as well for 3 years now. Haven't gotten to your level, definitely, otherwise you would have met. One of the things that I've been always afraid of doing is coding something and not properly annotating. So in Toastmasters, we do allow mentioning things like, time is gold without having to annotate who originally stated that. My question would be, where would you draw the line between something that is common knowledge that you don't need to annotate it versus something that you would have to?
I'm not quite clear on the idea of annotating. Could you explain it again for me?
So, when we quote something like, let's say, time is gold, we don't need to say who it's from, but when we quote something like, "Give me a lever and a fulcrum, a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which it stands," you kind of have to quote that it's from Aristotle. So you have to mention that in your speech, otherwise it's plagiarism. So I'm kind of wondering how we draw the line between something that's common knowledge, so you don't have to tell the audience who it's from, and something that you would need to quote.
It's hard for me to answer that because I don't use quotes in my speech. Unfortunately for me, I'm not very educated and I do not read a lot. So it's hard for me to come up with quotes from wise people. Can you use quotes? Yeah, you can. But when you use quotes, you've got to think about why you're using it. And if it's to try support your message, then can you still do it without that quote? Right? How can you structure or word your speech in such a way that you don't even need that quote to say it, right? So you want to be able to say your speech and say, this is what I think because I'm Craig. Not this is what I think because Aristotle said it. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Craig and Toastmaster Kwong. We're down to the last 5 minutes. I just wanted to quote something mentioned here by Toastmaster Allison, connecting to your response to Toastmaster Panos. She says she can relate to what you shared earlier. She wants to speak comfortably in front of a diverse audience. So she relates to your response. All right. We have the last 5 minutes. We have one anonymous question here. I would like to take that.
I was also going to give everybody a bonus as well, but I guess I'm giving lots of bonuses for answering questions.
Okay, we have two anonymous questions, Toastmaster
All right.
Kwong, and you can keep it short. Someone is asking you, why did you not compete this year? Are you planning to compete next year?
Oh, I am competing this year.
Oh.
Sort of. So long story short, short story long. Originally, this year, I thought China was the only country that would be doing online contests because China was hit by the coronavirus first and we had to postpone our area contest and we were going to do it online. And I didn't want to compete because I thought, well, it's not fair. We're doing it online, but the rest of the world are doing it in person. They have a better chance of polishing and improving their speech. But now, because everybody's doing it online, then I feel like it's a more level playing field. Then it sort of gets me excited because communicating online is a different medium. So it's a different skill. So I'm learning new things, right? So if everybody's doing the same thing and I'm learning something different, I think, yeah, why not? I should use it as a way to get better at communicating on video.
Excellent. Thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. All right, just another thing I wanted to address. Most of our attendees here are directing their concern that you had mentioned about your Facebook page and your Facebook video. They're unable to find it. I think they were trying to locate it as we are speaking right now.
Oh, all right. This is what happens because I don't use Facebook. I've been in China half my life and I've got no idea whether this works or not. All right, here. Tell me if that works. Oh, wait, that's an admin tool. Let's see. Sorry, give me a moment. I do want to connect with people. Because the problem is I get friend requests, but then I don't know how to stay in contact with everyone. Let's see. All right, let's see. It works. That one's probably better.
Yeah, I think they managed to get it working. We're down to the last few minutes now, Toastmaster Kwong. I would like to now hand the control to you and ask you for your last closing comments for our audience here.
Oh, great. I get to share my bonus because I don't want to promise a bonus and then not give you a bonus. hopefully you've gotten a lot from this session. But my last bonus is just my idea on how I rehearse. All right, rehearsals are really important. This is my final tip on how I rehearse. You can try it. It may work for you. It may not work. You might have another way of doing it that helps you. So when I rehearse, there are three things. All right. The first thing I would do is I will try to learn my speech. All right, I'll try to learn my speech. When I try to learn my speech, I just concentrate. I sit in a place or I stand somewhere and I just learn my speech until I can say my speech. I don't even think about body language. I don't think about movement. I don't think about the stage. I think about just the words and how I would deliver it. Second thing I would do is I would then visualize my speech. So I would say my speech with my eyes closed and I would visualize where I would be on the stage or how I would move, where my hands would be, and I visualize it as I'm doing it. All right. And then finally, when I can visualize and say my speech without making any mistakes, only then do I really stand up and say my speech and then try to move and add movement and add the stage. Right? That helps for me because I find that if I'm trying to multitask, I'm not good at multitasking. If I'm trying to remember my speech and trying to move at the same time, there's too many things happening. And I find that that works for me. The whole idea of visualization really helps, especially when you get up to things like the division or the district or international, because you visualize yourself on stage and you visualize the audience and you visualize yourself having a lot of fun. And I find that helps a lot.
Wow, excellent. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Kwong. And as someone mentioned, I think it was Toastmaster Panos, we've had a lovely time getting the unique wisdom, the unique style of each of our event speakers in this entire series. I would definitely love to have you all under the same meeting room, if not today, but another day, so we can personally thank all of you. I'll be in touch with all the speakers one-on-one to find a time and place where we can have a common Zoom meeting with all our featured speakers to show you our gratitude and to thank you all personally. It's been an amazing experience. Now, those of us connecting from overseas, we've got Toastmaster Panos from Greece, we had Toastmasters from coming in from the UK, and so many other places. And thank you so much for connecting. We feel the connection and the love of Toastmasters that is bringing us together. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Kwong. I noticed the fact that for the last 1 hour or so, you've been standing. You've not been sitting. So actually trying to make it as real as possible, because that's how in the real workshops, you would be standing the whole time. So you wanted us to feel that. I think you've exerted that pressure onto yourself. Thank you very much for that. Lovely session, lovely questions coming in from all of us. Those of you who are able to connect to Toastmaster Kwong on his Facebook page, as he mentioned, I would like to just highlight that one more time. Every Wednesday, he has an open session where we all can join in on sharing his wisdom, and he's keeping that as an open forum. So I hope you find him on Facebook for that. And if you can, please get in touch either with me or one of the organizers, and we'll be able to help you. Can I now ask, or rather, give the control to our Division K Director, Toastmaster Adrenaline, who has given us this platform for conducting this entire series. Your closing remarks and your adjournment of this event, Toastmaster Adrenaline.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Toastmaster Kwong, for gracing our last episode. This is really privileged for us. Thank you so much. And for everyone who have joined us from the start, from the first episode until to this last episode, thank you so much for tuning in with us every 6 p.m. And I hope you have learned everything, the wonderful tips and suggestions that given to us by our speakers from the start until to our last speaker, Toastmaster Kwong. Wonderful tips on how to deliver our speeches, craft our speeches, write our speeches, things that we shouldn't do or do as a speakers. So I hope these tips will help us in our delivery of speeches, in creating our speeches, especially to those who are really wanted to join speech contest, international speech contest. So for that, again, thank you, Toastmaster Kwong. To everyone, thank you for joining us. And don't worry, fellow Toastmasters. We'll try our best to make another series if you have another time and speakers to be invited. And so we will post another series if we have. Okay, thank you so much, fellow Toastmasters. And as Division K Director, I officially close this webinar. So, but before we totally leave the meeting, I would like to request everyone to please open your cameras and let's have a picture.
Toastmaster Ed, if you may allow me to just
Yes.
address something. All our attendees for all these sessions have been asking me recordings of the sessions where we did record. I know some sessions were not recorded on the request of the speaker, but where we did record,
Yes.
Can we share a copy of this? And can we know whom they should approach for this? Will that be yourself, Toastmaster Ed?
Yeah, we will post the recordings on my site or in Division K and on my personal account.
Okay, kindly do post that on your personal FB page, how we can access those recordings, Toastmaster Ed, so we can make this entire experience more knowledgeable and more educational for all the attendees who took time out to attend.
I will. Okay, thank
yes,
you.
and as we are taking the
picture.
pictures, I have one more thing to say, if you allow me, Toastmaster Ed.
Yes.
This is outside your division. This is outside our District 75 district. Those of you who do want to have a feel, or rather, I would say, if you love these series, do keep in touch on my Facebook page, because we do have another excellent series coming up. All right, and again shared by me. And please be on the lookout for that. And I can promise you, if not as long as these episodes, but at least as wise and as fruitful in learning for all of you. So do keep in touch with me on my Facebook direct page. I'm going to post a lot of information on that. On that note, I think it's time for us to show our best smiles, because Toastmaster Ed is ready with the print screen. Toastmaster Ed, any sign or any symbol to tell us that you're taking the picture?
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm muted. Okay, once again, fellow Toastmasters, on the first page.
Yeah.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Next page. I'm just waiting everyone to be loaded.
Actually, I got one with everyone. Division, what's your name? Ed. I can just send it to you. There's an option to get everyone in one screenshot.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. There is our potential Zoom master for the next event. Please do get in touch with me.
Oh,
Okay,
please
ready?
let us know how it's done. I would love to know how you just get everyone in one shot.
Sure,
Yes,
I'll
we
help you
want to
all.
know. We want
Do you
to
guys
know.
want me to do that now?
Yes, please.
So on the
Now.
lower left portion of your screen, there's the
Yes.
top video, and then there's an arrow up, right? You can go to video settings.
Video, yes.
Video settings, and then on your video settings, under video, go to the lowest option, display up to 49 participants per screen and gallery view. Just tick that, and then it
Which
should
one?
automatically.
Accessibility.
Video,
That's
and
nice.
then display up to 49 participants.
Thank you.
Where's that? I cannot see that.
You can I can't click it, but I see it, which means
I
that
don't see it.
all grayed out.
Toastmaster Kingi, by the way, thank you so much for joining us. Also, you are joining us very late from wherever you are joining us from right now. I know it's been very late. In fact, Toastmaster Kingi wanted to say his hi to you, Toastmaster Kwong. Go ahead, Toastmaster Kingi.
Hey, Hong. Hey, buddy.
Hey,
How are you?
Good to see
mate.
you.
Yeah, good to see you too. It must be midnight now, but just want to say hello to everybody.
Oh wow, it's been so long.
It's been too long, buddy. So we'll have to meet somewhere on some stage somewhere.
Those of you who don't know Toastmaster Kingi, he's also a runner-up from 2013.
And 13, yes.
Exactly. Toastmaster Kingi was a runner-up in the World Championship in 2013. I also see Toastmaster Carol excited to say hi to you. You can unmute yourself, Toastmaster Carol, and say hi to Toastmaster Kwong.
Hey, buddy.
What a surprise.
Yeah, it's been, oh, no, it's only 2 years. Chicago, I saw you, didn't I?
Yes, yes. But still, it's a long time. It's 2 years ago.
2 years. So thank you so much for this. It's been great. And I'll be in touch and see if I can tempt you down here for something.
All right. Let us know. Let us know.
Someone is asking me, Toastmaster Kingi, if I can invite you for a webinar. Just to put it correctly on record, I did connect with Kingi Biddle, and he did turn. How do I say this? He apologized.
Ah, yes, yes.
So I gave you the opportunity, Toastmaster Kingi.
Yes, yes, I remember. I remember now. Hello, everybody. I'll...
All right, just to make our events more fruitful and to help us to learn, I had opened the polls. I noticed only 39 of us had voted in the polls. Please do vote on the polls to let us know if we've done a good job, a bad job, a lousy job, or an excellent job. Please do give your polls there. On your webinar, though, Toastmaster Kingi, you have to do the dance and the song, the one which you had in your... All right, are we signing off now, TM Ed? I think the entire audience is waiting for you to adjourn.
I have a last announcement.
Yeah.
Fellow Toastmasters, I would like to invite everyone tomorrow, on Sunday, April 26th, we will be having mind mapping seminar at 2 to 4 p.m. Our speaker will be distinguished Toastmaster Gigi Sablan from Dubai. So if you are available on April 26th, you can join our workshop. This is also Division K event. Thank you, Toastmasters.
What time is it? What time will that be?
2 to 4 p.m. Philippine time.
Okay.
We'll make a poster that has conversion time.
Thank you.
UTC. It's UTC 8, positive.
Have you
Again,
got
fellow Toastmaster, thank you,
link?
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you.
Good
Bye,
night.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good job, Kong.
Night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much,
See you,
everyone.
Kwong. See everybody.
Bye, all.